welcoming Ralph Franco to the Masuk Athletic Club.
Thank you. I was just joking with my family over there. I hope there's one more coach because I didn't want to follow that. I want to start by thanking the Hall of Fame committee for honoring me with such a nice recognition. I want to thank all the Masuk administrators during my coaching career: Peter Holtz, John Batista, Joe Cobza, our ADs, Dave Strong, John DeGennaro, Brian Humpel. I want to thank all the athletes for their commitment to Masuk, and finally to my family here tonight, for my parents who are watching and listening from above. Congratulations for all the players and coaches also getting recognized tonight. In the past few months, I heard a familiar saying: days are long, years fly by. As I stand here tonight, I can't think of a truer statement. My coaching journey started back in 1993 in Miami at LaSalle High School. And after getting hired on a Monday night at 10 o'clock to become a math teacher at LaSalle High School, that's a story for another time. I was told that I would also be an assistant baseball coach that year for both the fall and spring seasons, and I would get paid $600. That's just a little insight into how crazy coaches are. A few years later, I found myself at Masuk, and Dave Strong took a chance on hiring a 29-year-old kid as the next head baseball coach. I can't thank him enough for that opportunity. I think it takes years to become a good teacher, and I feel the same about coaching. We learn and grow as the years go by, and I think I learned so many great things those early years. As an assistant baseball and football coach, I want to thank Dave Dunn, John Murphy, and Joe Iannuzzi. I also learned things by watching other great coaches at Masuk. Coach D once told me I reminded him of Joe Torre because I was always sitting on the bench for most of the game. That wasn't the case in my early years. I never told him, but I learned that from Coach Strong. Me and Brian Horgan worked the scores table at basketball games for years, and we watched Dave coach. We called him the chess master. One, because he was a chess master, but because he could move his players on the floor like pieces in a game. And you can't do that if they're not well prepared. So first, I made sure my players were always well prepared. And second, don't get up from the bench unless it's really important. Players are always going to make mistakes, and as a coach, we don't want to make them worse. So thank you, Dave. A few weeks ago, my wife asked me what I was going to talk about tonight, and I told her I was going to talk from my heart, and she said, I think it would be better if you wrote a speech. And I remember thinking back to those early spring years of me coaching and just getting married in 2005. And every March my wife would say the same thing: it's baseball season again. Because I would start in March and I would coach all the way through November until I was done with my son's teams. I might have forgotten to mention that I also played in a men's baseball league with my father every Sunday, every year that he coached baseball at Masuk.
Nice.
My love for the game definitely came from my father, but my competitiveness came from both my parents. If you've ever watched a Yankee game with my mom, you know what I would be talking about. To my wife, I know I would not have had the success I did without you in my life. To be honest, when I look back at all those springs, it was a crazy time. I thank God we're still together. To all my players, thank you. You made it easy to keep coaching. There was always a new freshman group that got me excited every spring. I want to take this opportunity to thank all my assistant coaches. We used to have a saying when we were coaches, you're only as good as your seniors. I think your program is only as good as your assistant coaches.
Yes.
So I want to take this opportunity to thank Pat Petrie, Brian Humpel, Ken Ryder, Joe Castillo, Dave Brennan, Joe Lego, Chris Squelly, Gus Constantino, Frank Fidelli, Steve Christie, Matt Renzoni, Bob Pagel, Dennis Accomano, and of course Brian Horgan. I'm still coaching today, but in a slightly different role. I'm a volunteer assistant at Shelton High, and I get an opportunity to watch my son play. I also coach a summer team with him and all his friends. The difference is I do it for free. I told you coaches are crazy. Thank you.